Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. See that the co-chair has joined us. I have also been informed that we have a quorum. So first of all, I would like to start by saying thanks for joining and for bearing with us through the different Zoom links this morning. Each session had a need of its own, given the different people in each meeting. But we are all here. We have quorum, so with that, we can start. And we went through it together. Tomorrow we will only use one link. With that said, today we will start with the LDCF SCCF Council meeting as originally planned. We will then reconvene any other business on Friday before the summary of the co-chairs of the GEF Trust Fund Council. I also wanted to mention that unfortunately our chair is not feeling well this morning, so the co-chair will take over his role. We, of course, wish the chair prompt recovery, and he hopefully should join us very soon. With that said, I will now hand it over to the co-chair so he can lead us to the opening of the meeting and the adoption of the agenda of the 39th LDCF and SSCF Council meeting. Thank you, and Richard, over to you.
Thank you very much, Naomi, and thank you for the opportunity to open this meeting. At the outset, I'd like to express my thanks to the Secretariat for your work in preparing for this 39th Council session. It is essential that climate funds enable funding to go through to those who need it most, that is the SIDS and LDCs, to help those vulnerable nations adapt to climate change and their environmental impacts. I'm looking forward to hearing about the work program for the LDCF and SCCF, the progress report on those funds, and about the annual monitoring review. It is great to see that the work program includes 2 projects in the Pacific, namely Kiribati and the Marshall Islands. Their inclusion in the work program also indicates that the multi-trust fund modality is working to provide synergistic, multifaceted support. I also welcome updates on the development of the GEF programming strategy on adaptation to climate change for the LDCF and SCCF. Now, I'd like to share with you some recent developments regarding Australia and the wider Pacific region concerning climate change. I'm sure you're all aware that at COP31 it was announced at Belém a few weeks ago that Australia will jointly host COP31 with Turkey. I'll just run through the key elements for those who are not aware. Firstly, Turkey is the COP31 president and will host COP31, including the World Leaders Summit in Turkey. As COP31 president, Turkey will appoint a representative of Australia, which is expected to be Climate Minister, Minister Bowen, as president of negotiations to carry out the functions of the president in relation to negotiations. The Pacific, with the support of Australia, will host the pre-COP in a Pacific Island country, including a leaders component. This will be an opportunity to bring leaders to see firsthand the impacts of climate change on Pacific Island countries and hear the voices and solutions from the region. Turkey will lead the COP31 action agenda, which will include a session focused on climate finance needs of the small island development states. Turkey will appoint the mandated climate high-level champion roles and will appoint a COP31 youth champion. And Turkey and Australia will work together to identify additional champions for the action agenda and thematic priorities. Why is this important? The 20 SIDS, including the 4 LDCs, Kiribati, Solomon Islands, Timor-Leste, and Tuvalu, in the Greater Pacific region face significant climate vulnerability and uncertainty, making them susceptible to sea level rise, extreme weather, ecosystem degradation, infrastructure degradation, as well as water and food security. The GEF, in particular the LDCF and the SCCF, can have an important role to play in 2026 as part of the financial mechanism for the Climate Convention, with their focus on LDCs and SIDS to contribute towards the success of COP31. This is a year of opportunity. Australia looks forward to working with the GEF to raise its visibility to support the Pacific nations and for all SIDS to address their climate challenges, to strengthen the GEF partnership in the region and facilitate timely and impactful action, focus support for those most vulnerable communities, ecosystems and countries, and to leverage additional support from other financiers, multilateral climate funds, private sector, and driving innovation. The GEF constituency that I represent with New Zealand and South Korea has a shared understanding with the Pacific SIDS constituency, represented by Ambassador Filippo Tarakaniki of Fiji, that addressing the negative impacts of climate change and building resilience for SIDS, in particular the Pacific, is a key priority for COP31. It is my expectation that 2026 becomes a watershed year to catalyse action for climate change, with the GEF at multiple levels, ranging from ground level initiatives, national and regional coordination, to strategic council engagement. I'm looking forward to these discussions today and tomorrow, and welcome your engagement. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to invite Ewan's Muir, Chair of the Least Development Countries Group and Council Member of the constituency consisting of Angola, Botswana, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Eswatini, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, to give his remarks. Over to you, Evans.
Thank
We can't hear you.
Yeah, Evans, we cannot hear you. I see that you're unmuted, and we see your video very well, but somehow we cannot hear you. Sometimes just logging out and coming back in is helpful. So, okay, now you're muted. Maybe you can try to unmute yourself and see if we can hear you. Okay, we hear
Yes.
you now. Thank you,
Is that
Evans. We
okay?
hear you now.
Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Naomi. Gracias. So, yes, thank you very much. And you can see me as well. So, distinguished council members, colleagues, and friends, indeed, I am now council member of the Southern African constituency, but also speaking in this event as the LDC chairperson. Now, as the outgoing chair of the LDC group, this marks the final occasion on which I will address the opening of this important council meeting. It has been an honor and a privilege to attend the LDCF, SCCF councils in the last 2 years, bringing both the goodwill and concerns of the LDCs to the LDCF. The dedication and commitment displayed by this council continue to inspire hope and action in the face of immense challenges. And let me, through you, Naomi, and co-chair Richard, also wish our CEO and chairperson, Mr. Carlos Manuel Rodriguez, as you announced that he's not feeling well this morning. Please do extend our best wishes on behalf of the LDC's group. I'd have loved to see him on the podium. He's a very good friend, colleague, so please wish him well. So I'd like to extend, of course, my heartfelt gratitude to him, the GEF CEO and chairperson, for his unwavering friendship and leadership. Through his support and your support, of course, as Secretariat, the GEF LDC partnership has reached new heights, and together we have forged stronger connections, advancing our shared goals. And as this council convenes in the immediate aftermath of the UN Climate Conference, as co-chair just mentioned, the COP30 in Belém that just happened last month, I feel compelled to express our disappointment, of course, on behalf of the ODCs, and while we appreciated hearing from all parties about the importance of prioritizing LDCs in climate action, we cannot overlook the fact that our primary request for COP guidance to the GF of the $3 billion United States dollars into the LDCF by 2030 was not achieved. In other words, it was denied. And even after the issue was brought to the attention of the COP president, the final COP decision fell short of our expectations and needs. And the good news that I think the co-chair has announced, we hope in the course of next year, as they also become co-president with Turkey, maybe this can be achieved. Furthermore, for the second year in a row at the COPs, in COP29 in Baku and the COP30 in Belém, we have been unable to convene the much-needed pledging session for the LDCF and SCCF due to lack of adequate donor support. This absence is deeply concerning, as it undermines the agency and support required for those most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And this ongoing lack of financial resources is directly impacting on our ability to develop and implement new projects. We just heard from the co-chair that the LDCs and SEEDs are probably the most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. And at present, I recognize that we can only consider a limited number of projects in the work program, and this cycle features just 4 LDCF projects, all of which had already received technical clearance for the last council meeting. Several approved projects remain pending for future work programs because of limited resources. Now, council members and partners, as GF8 concludes, I want to highlight that LDCF adopted 2 financial scenarios and is almost $350 million short of the $1 billion minimum target. I'm grateful to donors pledging support during this council and encourage others to increase or make new commitments. I'm aware that some of the partners will be making the announcements, and I congratulate them on that and also encourage others to follow suit to help us meet our financial goals for GF8. And securing these resources will enable us to advance projects and protect the vulnerable communities in LDCs from climate change impacts. As I conclude, and as my tenure as chair ends, end of this December, I encourage renewed support for LDCs through the LDCF, which provides unmatched value among the climate funds. The LDCF's unique dedication to supporting 1.6 billion people in the LDCs to adapt to climate challenges deserves your continued commitment. Before closing then, for Chair, I would like to introduce the incoming LDC Group Chair for the next 2 years, starting January 2026. Our commitment continues, and thank you for your support and dedication to building resilience. The incoming chair from January 2026 is Ambassador Adao. Some of you may know him from Timor-Leste, just around Australia in the Pacific. And I would invite him to just say hello to the council co-chair. And Naomi, thank you for giving me this floor. Thank you. Have a fruitful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Evans. And thank you, Evans. And with that, I would also invite Ambassador Dow from Timor-Leste, the incoming chair of the least developed countries group, to share some welcoming remarks. Over to you, Ambassador Dow.
Thank you very much, Chair of LDCs and co-chairs, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the CEO and chairperson of the GEF for the kind invitation to observe this LDCF SCCF Council meeting. It is both an honor and privilege to participate in this important gathering, where our collective efforts contribute to building resilience in the world's most vulnerable nations. My name is Adam Suarez Barbosa, who was also mentioned by the chair of LDCs and also co-chairs. And I am Special Envoy and Ambassador at Large for Climate Affairs for the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste, and a long-time participant in the UN climate process. I will serve as chair of the least developed countries LDC group from 2026 for 2 years, like it was mentioned by the chair of LDCs. I also would like to look forward to continuing the good work initiated by my esteemed predecessors. Their dedications and also leadership have set a strong foundation, and I am committed to building upon their achievements in the past as we carry forward our shared mission towards this very important issue. So thank you for your trust and also support on me. And I am excited to continue this important journey with you all. So once again, thank you very much, and back to you, Sarah.
Thank you for those remarks, Ambassador Adao, and it's a pleasure to have you here. I'd like to now remind Council that a provisional agenda has been circulated for consideration as document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.39/01. I'd like to now ask Council if there are any comments or items to add under other business. Note will be taken by the Secretary of any, So please do raise now if any other business is to be raised.
Thank you, Richard. I see that some people have requested the floor. So we will start with Gita, followed by Anders. Gita, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. The IEO will just like to make a brief statement during the AOB session on an update on the LDCF, SCCF evaluation agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gita. Note well taken. And I give the floor to Anders, followed by Corentin. Anders, you have the floor.
Thank you. To be brief, we will be happy to make an AOB tomorrow for the most usual reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anders. Corentin, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Naomi. It is just to make sure the AOB session, does it include the pledging session?
Yes, Corentin, if that's something that that your country wish to do, this should be requested under any other business, and we will be happy to provide that space under that agenda item. Corentin, sorry, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. We heard you earlier, but now somehow we cannot hear you. No, we still don't. Maybe you can try without your headset, using the microphone from your computer. Yeah, let's see if that will work. Can you try maybe saying something now to see if we can hear you? So Corentin, maybe we can go to our next speaker. Okay, so Corentin, you put a question in the chat. Does any other business include a pledging session? Yes, it does. So if that's the wish of any country to do so, you can request it now, and we will be very happy to provide that space under any other business. Thank you for your question. So I will now give the floor to Nicholas from Germany.
Thank you very much. I think it's just to second what Anders and Corentin already wanted to say, that we'd like another item on the AOB for additional financial support for LDCF and SCCF. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Anders, Nicholas, Corentin. Note well taken, and we will address this suggestion under any other business. So thank you. And co-chair, I don't see anyone else requesting the floor, so back to you.
Thank you very much, and those additional items have all been noted for inclusion. At this point, I'd like to invite Council to adopt the agenda for the meeting. On that, I don't see any objections, so the agenda is now agreed. Thank you. I'd now like to move on to agenda item 2, which is the work program for the Least Developed Countries Fund. I'd like to invite Ms. Chizuru Aoki and Ms. Isola Ukafoji from the GEF Secretariat to present documents GEF/LDCF SCCF 3902, Work Program for the Least Development Countries Fund, and the Special Climate Change Fund. Over to you, Chizuru.
Thank you so much, Mr. Co-Chair. I hope you can hear me okay. Excellent. Okay, so good morning from the GEF Secretariat. It is my pleasure to present to you the work program for the LDCF and SCCF to the 39th LDCF and SCCF Council. Next slide, please. Let me start by outlining a few noteworthy features of this work program. This work program requests $52.26 million from the LDCF and SCCF combined, inclusive of the GEF project financing and agency fees, to support 5 countries. And those 5 countries include Eritrea, Haiti, Kiribati, Senegal, and the Republic of Marshall Islands. All of these countries are accessing the LDCF or SCCF resources for the first time in the GEF 8 period to address their climate adaptation and climate resilience priorities. 4 of these countries are classified as fragile and conflict-affected situation or FCS countries. The work program focuses on small island developing states, with over 60% of the requested resources going to support initiatives in 3 small island developing states. The work program continues the strong engagement of international financing institutions in the LDCF and SCCF portfolio, with robust co-financing from IFI, which is mobilizing close to $90 million or 86% of the total co-financing. Next slide, please. Okay, the work program requests the LDCF financing of $49.33 million and the SCCF financing of $2.93 million for 5 national projects, including 2 multi-trust fund projects with the GEF Trust Fund. And I should mention that these, the trust fund, GEF Trust Fund portion of these multi-trust fund projects have already been approved on Monday as part of the GEF work program. These projects are well aligned with the thematic and sectoral priorities as identified in the GEF 8 LDCF SCCF programming strategy, and they will support climate resilient agriculture fisheries, nature-based solutions, water resource management, climate information and early warning systems, and coastal zone management. Next slide, please. These 5 concepts presented in the work program include, as mentioned earlier, 4 LDCF projects, of which 1 project is supported by the LDCF and the GEF Trust Fund, and 1 SCCF project. And this project, as mentioned earlier, is a multi-trust fund project with the GEF Trust Fund. The total LDCF and SCCF project funding of $47.88 million, which is excluding agency fees, PPG, and fees, is expected to leverage nearly $167 million of co-financing. Now, I will hand over to my colleague, Olusola Ikuforiji, to walk us through the concepts in front of you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chiz. I hope you can hear me very clearly. Great. A very good morning to everyone. I will start with the 4 LDCF projects, including the 3 standalone and 1 multi-trust fund project in this work program. 2 of the projects are supporting African LDCs. 1 is supporting a Caribbean LDC, and the last one is supporting the Pacific LDC. Next slide, please. The concept for Haiti is being processed as an additional financing to the World Bank's Resilient Productive Landscapes 2 project. The project aims to improve agricultural productivity, strengthen resilience of agri-food systems, and enhance management of associated natural resources in selected landscapes. It will leverage $50 million from the World Bank. The Senegal project concept is focused on building resilience of marine ecosystems and coastal communities. It will embed resilience into fisheries governance, restore key coastal habitats, and expand sustainable livelihoods, particularly for women and youth. Similar to the Senegal concept, the project in Eritrea also focuses on marine and coastal resilience. With more than $22 million in leverage from IFAD, the project will improve resilience of fisher folks by promoting climate smart, gender responsive, and socially inclusive fisheries-based livelihoods while supporting a coastal ecosystem restoration. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at the LDCF Multi-Trust Fund project, which was presented to you on Monday. The Kiribati project blends LDCF and the GEF Trust Fund, leveraging over $17 million from the IFAD to foster a transformative model for small island adaptation that links healthy ecosystems, inclusive governance, and sustainable livelihoods to secure Kiribati's long-term resilience and development. Next slide. Our final concept prioritized for this work program is the Multi-Trust Fund project that blends SCCF and GEF Trust Fund. This targets a non-LDC states in the Pacific. This is the Marshall Islands. Next slide. The Marshall Islands project will strengthen climate resilience and prevent land degradation in the Marshall Islands by establishing climate-smart water management systems and scaling ecosystem and land restoration through ecosystem-based adaptation, nature-based solutions, and organic waste-to-compost soil rehabilitation measures. Next slide. Now, to just provide you an overview of the work program's alignment with the strategic priorities outlined in the GEF 8 LDCF SCCF strategy. First, the work program includes support to LDCs and seeds in scaling up adaptation finance through close collaboration with the IFIs, including the World Bank, as seen in the AD project, and IFAD for the Eritrea and Kiribati projects. In Marshall Islands, the SCCF project is mobilizing over $12 million in co-financing from the Asian Development Bank and the Green Climate Fund. Next, the work program also has a strong focus on technology innovation and private sector engagement. For example, in the Marshall Islands project, the SCCF project will establish at least 3 local SMEs, 2 on women and or youth-led, to produce, install, and maintain climate-smart water infrastructure, creating 60 green jobs and sustainable business models around water security and ecosystem restoration. The project in Haiti will also introduce an e-extension service to smallholder farmer groups that will facilitate the transition to climate-smart agricultural practices while promoting market-oriented agricultural value chains by connecting producers to buyers. Lastly, an inclusive all-of-society approach is being woven throughout the work program. Projects actively engage diverse stakeholders, ensuring broad participation and inclusive impact. Next slide, please. On gender, LDCF and SCCF continue to reflect a deepening commitment to gender equality as a core pillar of climate adaptation. In this work program, projects will aim at increasing women's role in decision-making, enhancing gender-inclusive livelihood and finance, increasing to climate risk and adaptation. In line with the GEF policies and guidelines, each project includes specific plans to carry out detailed gender analysis that will serve as the basis for to develop gender action plans. And each project will include a gender responsive monitoring and result framework with gender sensitive indicators. Next slide. In terms of the expected results that this work program will deliver against the 5 core indicators for the LDCF SCCF. First, the proposed project will collectively enhance climate resilience for almost 190,000 beneficiaries, 49% of whom are women. Secondly, they will improve climate resilient management of about 40,000 hectares of land and over 526,000 hectares of coastal and marine areas. The work program will also support the development of 24 policies and adaptation plans that will provide a framework for long-term resilience. Finally, the project will build adaptation capacities of over 17,500 people and engage 74 private sector, and social enterprises in climate change adaptation and resilience action. I'll now hand it over back to Cheese to continue with the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Oshola. Okay, the LDCF and SCCF work program was reviewed according to the GEF risk appetite, which was approved in the 66th GEF Council. For context risk, the average rating is high for the LDCF, with highest risks related to climate, and is substantial for the SCCF, with the highest risks related to climate and environmental and social elements. For innovation, the average rating for risk for LDCF is moderate. The rating is high for the SCCF, with generally high ratings for all three risk categories. And I should remind colleagues that for the SCCF, we're only looking at one project in the Pacific SIDS. For execution risk, the average rating is substantial for the LDCF and also substantial for the SCCF, with highest risks related to capacity and fiduciary risks. This work program has the higher risk ratings compared to an average work program in the GEF 8 due to the inclusion of high shares of CIS and FCS countries. We will be working with the agencies to carefully develop risk mitigation strategies for all projects with moderate to substantial risks. Next slide, please. Now about the LDCF agency distribution. The figure on the far left, shows the agency distribution since inception. The middle part is for the GEF 8 cumulative, where you will see a much better and balanced picture of agency distribution, with no agency exceeding 25% of the total programming share. The picture on the far right shows the agency distribution for the LDCF work program in front of you today. You can see that the three agencies are included, and that the MDBs and the NIFI accounts for more than 50% of the funds allocated. For the GEF 8 period as a whole, the share of MDBs and IFIs currently stands at 37.4% of programmed resources. Let's go to the next slide. And this one covers the SCCF agency distribution. The only SCCF project in front of you, which is in the Republic of Marshall Islands, including the work program, will be implemented by UNDP. For the GEF 8 period as a whole, the share of MDBs and IFI is at 20.6%. And you can see we have made steady progress to have much more agency distribution. However, in the GEF 8 period, with the opening of the SCCF window A to support CIS, we do have more work to do in terms of the distribution of agencies. Next slide, please. Okay, finally, we would like to draw the attention of this council to information that you have requested, which is a funding gap against the high demand for the LDCF. While 11 projects and programs were technically cleared in time to be considered for this work program, 7 national projects requesting $75 million have been deferred due to high demand for the LDCF and the insufficient resources to support it at this juncture. This means that several LDCs will experience delays in accessing vital climate adaptation support, and that could negatively impact the timelines and predictability of support being provided to these countries. The GEF remains committed to supporting all LDCs during the GEF 8 period, and this is a goal we achieve in the GEF 7 period. We call on all who are in the position to contribute to mobilize an additional $316.9 million in 2026 to meet the financial scenario A target of $1 billion as set forth is needed to ensure that all remaining LDCs can access up to the 20 million initial cap set for the GEF aid period. Now, with that, thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Chiz and Ulusola. With that, I'd like to invite council members to ask any questions from the floor. And I'll hand back over to Naomi if you could manage those questions. Thank you.
Certainly, Mr. Co-Chair. Thank you very much. And the floor is now open. So as usual, feel free to use the chat to put your name, and I'll do my best to follow that order. So floor is now open. Okay, thank you, Nicholas, for breaking the ice. Nicholas from Germany, floor is yours, followed by Stephanie from France.
Thank you very much, Noemi. Germany would like to thank the Secretariat, the agencies, and also the focal points for this LDCF and SCCF work program. It's very good to see that we're pushing on with these dedicated funds for LDCs and SIDS. And we see that they very much have their own unique role to play in supporting the most vulnerable countries. We would particularly like to congratulate Eritrea, Haiti, Kiribati, Senegal, and the Marshall Islands for accessing the LDCF and SCCF for the first time in GEF 8. And this certainly shows that the GEF family of funds has an important role to improve access to climate finance. It's good to see that significant co-finance will be mobilized, especially by the World Bank. In addition to this very welcome MDB co-finance, we would, however, also like to see some more co-finance from the private sector in future work programs. Only a few agencies are involved in this work program, and this is unfortunate for agency concentration, but luckily we're already on the right path to address this by accrediting a limited number of new agencies with a focus on LDCs and SIDS, and we urge the Secretariat to push this process forwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. I'll now give the floor to Stéphanie. Tu as la parole, Stéphanie.
Bonjour à tous, je vais m'exprimer en français. La France remercie les points focaux, les agences et le secrétariat pour la construction de ce programme de travail que nous soutenons. Nous félicitons les pays d'accéder à cette ressource. Nous félicitons également que les projets de ce programme de travail soient principalement portés par des institutions financières internationales et bénéficient de cofinancement d'autres entités multilatérales comme l'IDA, le GCF, la Banque asiatique de développement. La France accueille également favorablement les projets proposés dans la mesure où ils ont vocation à appuyer le secteur privé, en particulier ici avec 74 entreprises engagées dans l'adaptation et la résilience au changement climatique. Merci à tous.
Merci beaucoup, Stéphanie. I'll now give the floor to Corentin.
I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, now we hear you, Corentin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naomi. And hi, everyone. I'm pleased to see you all on these councils. First of all, I would like to say that I'm doing these interventions related to the LDC fund on behalf of Belgium. So thank you very much for this work program of the LDC fund. Belgium very much welcomes it and supports it. I would like to make two remarks about this work program. The first one is about the project to be implemented in Senegal. We believe it's a robust and very relevant project concept. It clearly responds to the needs in Senegal by focusing on the improvement of the resilience of coastal communities and the marine ecosystems management. In this project, we agree that the long-term ownership will be critical to ensure a sustainable outcome. And we see that the project proposal takes this into account by listing this as a moderate risk. But we want to underline the impact of genuine country ownership and the strong engagement of all relevant stakeholders from the beginning. So we would like to see a more fleshed out planning of how the project will be institutionally embedded into the national policies and processes. And we commend that the project includes synergies with biodiversity targets. Indeed, like many others, Belgium encourages to maximize the synergies in the climate change and biodiversity nexus at the national level also. And for the rest, we note that the project proposal mentions other projects in Senegal with which synergies will be sought. One is to be implemented by UNEP and the other one by the FAO. So we wonder how these synergies and complementarities will be carried out more concretely, and how the agency can ensure that there is no fragmentation nor duplication. And finally, on the gender aspects, we'd be interested to know more about how concretely the project intends to promote the representation and leadership of women in participatory governance frameworks for marine and coastal management. So we would appreciate some additional information on these aspects, and if these could be considered when formulating the final project document. Now, more generally, on the funding of the LDC fund, we note that the current work program contains an encouragement to donors to mobilize about an additional $317 million by early 2026. In the current global financial situation, we believe this target will be extremely difficult to reach, especially given the limited number of donors to the LDC fund nowadays. And also, as reminded earlier today by the chair of the LDC group, Anne Chizuru, we also recall that due to the current resource constraint to the LDCF, 7 projects requesting 75 million have been deferred and could not be included in this work program. So we take this opportunity to urge all countries in a position to do so to make specific efforts to contribute to the least developed country fund. And we also encourage the GEF Secretariat to continue and enhance its outreach to non-traditional donors in order to achieve the financial scenario A of 1 billion for the least developed country fund as agreed for the GEF 8 period. That's it for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kalanta. And we will now continue with Catherine Ramon, and then we will pause to hear from Chizuru and Sola to then continue with the list of speakers. So with that said, Catherine, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Chiz and Olusola. So Canada supports the approval of this work program. We are encouraged by the strong private sector engagement across the proposals through SMEs, public-private partnerships, and entrepreneurship incubation for women and youth. We are hopeful that these projects will embed climate resilience directly into local economies. And thank you for the details provided on the factors considered for the work program, including on GEF GCF coordination. We are pleased to read that LDCF and SCCF resources strategically build on and scale existing GCF investments. And also for Canada, it's important that that the work program has shown that it's integrated gender considerations at the design stage. So thank you for this. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I'll now give the floor to Ramón. Tienes la palabra.
Gracias. Voy a intervenir en español. En primer lugar, quería agradecer a la Secretaría y a las agencias la presentación de este programa de trabajo y esa búsqueda de la cofinanciación asociada. Creemos que es importante para avanzar en los retos ambientales a los que nos enfrentamos. Destacamos las propuestas que han buscado una fuerte participación del sector privado a través de pequeñas y medianas empresas y también las asociaciones público-privadas. Creemos que la búsqueda de coherencia de las políticas nacionales, regionales, la involucración de las administraciones locales es fundamental, especialmente cuando hablamos de este tipo de proyectos, de soluciones para adaptación, soluciones basadas en la naturaleza, que son muy específicas y diseñadas en el contexto local. Como comentaba Corentin, queremos destacar los proyectos holísticos, las sinergias entre biodiversidad, clima y otros retos ambientales. Queremos dar valor a los proyectos Multi-Trust Fund Projects para aprovechar las sinergias en las actuaciones ambientales y la compatibilidad entre diferentes instrumentos financieros, por ejemplo, con el Fondo Verde para el Clima. También destacar el apalancamiento con otras fuentes de financiación de instituciones financieras internacionales, de AIDA, de la Asociación Internacional para el Desarrollo. Creemos que esto da coherencia a nuestras actuaciones. Finalmente, destacar que todos estos proyectos estén alineados con las políticas nacionales que contribuyan a la implementación de los planes nacionales de adaptación, a los programas nacionales de acción para la adaptación y a las contribuciones determinadas a nivel nacional, documentos relevantes en los que debemos seguir trabajando para incrementar el nivel de ambición. Y finalmente, solo agradecer a los países que han mostrado interés hoy en hacer anuncios de nuevas contribuciones en ese punto de New Business. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias, Ramón. Now let's give some minutes to Chis and Chola to respond to these first good comments and questions, and then we will continue with Wampi, Sagar, Lucrecia, and Anders. So back to you, Chis.
Thank you so much. Generally, we appreciate the encouragement as well as positive feedback on the projects included in this work program in front of you. We are also very encouraged by very strong local ownership as well as engagement of women as well as gender consideration into the projects in front of you. And also, I think overall, looking at the LDCF portfolio in particular, we started to see an increasing trend on proposals coming to us with a much robust and stronger systemic engagement of MDBs, in particular the World Bank. And I do think this is one way to also ensure that the countries are really benefiting from the resources that could be catalyzed more broadly from the IFIs as indicated in the work program. And I think we're also seeing that trend to continue in this particular work program. So we very much appreciate your recognition of that. And thank you, Korantan, for your encouragement, strong encouragement for the continuation of donor support for this important fund. We do think this is investments in the LDCs and LDCs and SIDS, as well as technology transfer to address their adaptation priorities in the most effective and efficient way. And I think there was one question regarding the Senegal project and how we go about the active engagement of the local community as well as private sector. And just to say that we do appreciate your inquiry about this issue, and we will make sure that there is a good planning exercise going on to ensure in the period of the preparation of the CEO endorsement document to really flesh out, as you indicate, the policy integration as well as policy coherence of this element, including the private sector and other partners. And we'll make sure to work with the agency, which is FAO for this particular project, that would be done. So with that, back to you, Noemi and Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you very much, Chis. We will now continue with our next 5 speakers, Wampi, Sagar, Lucrecia, and Anders. Wampi, floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Noemi, and also thank for the presentation and the good results from the Netherlands. We are ready to approve the work program. As Canada and others, we are quite happy also with the private sector engagement, and pleased to know that the projects in Haiti, Senegal, Eritrea, and Kiribati are now launched, and that is for these countries the first time using LDCF funds in the GEF 8 strategy period. And we're also very happy to see that a large share of the IFIs, the international financial institutions, are part also in this work program. And we are equally pleased to note the project in Senegal that it will also support youth and women entrepreneurs in the developing small businesses. We feel that it's important to foster this entrepreneurship. And also pleased to see that there is complementarity with the GCF, and that it was really consensus choice to do that. And we see that there is also opportunity, or we hope there is further opportunity to further cooperate with the GCF. The portfolio of the GCF is like 50-50 shared between mitigation and adaptation. So we feel that there is an opportunity there to strengthen the cooperation. But overall, thank you very much for the work program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sagar. I'll now give the floor. Thank you very much, Wampi. I'll now give the floor to Sagar on behalf of the CSO network.
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you, Chiz, for the presentation, and good to see all of you at this council meeting. The GEF CSO network welcomes the proposed work program and recognizes its importance for addressing the urgent climate adaptation needs in LDCs and SIDS. The work program reflects the strong alignment with national priorities and ongoing needs for LDCF and SCCF support, particularly in fragile and climate vulnerable contexts. We especially welcome the projects in Kiribati, Haiti, Senegal, which addresses the urgent adaptation needs in particularly vulnerable contexts. Regarding the work program, we'd like to highlight some areas where additional attention could improve implementation on the ground. The postponement of several LDCF projects due to limited resource demonstrates a strained situation within the system, and we'd welcome greater predictability and timely access to finance, especially for countries facing urgent adaptation needs. The strong role of international financial institutions helps to achieve broad support. At the same time, we welcome the continued effort to achieve a balanced mix of implementation approaches that gives space to national institutions, local actors, and community-based organizations where appropriate. On social inclusion in practice, we welcome the focus on inclusion, gender equality, and community engagement. We see added value in further expanding participation in activities and involving civil society, indigenous people, and local communities in the joint shaping of governance, prioritization, and adaptive management. The risk analysis rightly points to high contextual and implementation risks. We encourage flexibility in implementation and sustained support for local capacities so that projects can adapt to changing conditions. Current indicators focus primarily on short-term results. We welcome stronger learning-oriented monitoring that captures long-term resilience and institutional change. Overall, the CSO network supports the adoption of the work program and makes these considerations available to ensure that resources of LDCF and SCCF achieve sustainable, locally rooted adaptation outcomes. Following the meeting, we will submit additional written comments on selected projects in the work program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sagar. I'll now give the floor to Lucrecia on behalf of Council Member Gabriela.
Muchas gracias. I'll speak in English now. Thank you very much. We would like to thank, as others, the Secretariat, the agency, and of course the beneficiary countries for the work program, which we are ready to adopt. We are pleased to see 4 countries accessing LDC funding for the first time. And we also welcome the multi-trust fund project by the Marshall Islands that will request SCCF funding under window 08 for the first time. It highlights, as others have said, the advantages of the GEF families of funds in terms of simplifying access and addressing different needs in a complementary manner. And in this context, I could add, we also welcome the complementarity with the GCF, of course, in this work program, and more generally with the GCF funding the elaboration of the NAPs. We also positively note the consistently high share of IFIs in recent work programs and this one, and then the large amount of co-financing, of course, they can help to mobilize. While the co-financing ratio is not as high as in the GEF, it is still very notable given that there is no requirement. We regret, of course, as others, to note that 7 projects requesting 75 million from 7 LDCs have had to be deferred. And we would like to know, or rather maybe confirm, that no request for funding from under the SCCF has been received and had to be deferred. Finally, we are grateful for the new contributions from Belgium and Ireland during this reporting period. And we hope that the funding cap can be filled and encourage all donors, old and new, to make contributions. And in this connection, we would be interested in knowing from the GEF Secretariat or the SCCF Secretariat, what resource mobilization efforts have been undertaken, and in particular about the experience, advantages and disadvantages of fundraising for two distinct windows under the SCCF. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Lucrecia. Siempre un gusto. I'll now give the floor to Anders, followed by Jonas. Anders, floor is yours.
Thank you. We are overall supportive of the work program, but we note that climate risk is high, and we simply just wonder if you could clarify what this practically entails, just for clarification. Also consistent with our intervention on the GEF work program yesterday, Sweden would also ask for a clarification in view of ensuring that the substantive contributions of our citizens and taxpayers are being correctly used in implementation, and most curious about your risk assessment in this regard on Haiti and Eritrea. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anders. And I give the floor to Jonas.
Thank you so much, Noemi. We would like to thank the GEF Secretariat for a wide-spanning and highly relevant work program, which we are happy to approve. We note the increase in co-financing mobilized, especially the important engagement of the World Bank and IFAD in 3 of the 4 LDCF projects. We are very encouraged by this and believe it strengthens the resource base and demonstrates confidence in LDCF SCCF projects. We hope that lessons from this engagement are shared with within the GEF family of funds. The work program also illustrates how the LDCF continues to engage the private sector, especially through more structured approaches. We look forward to following the projects over time and are hopeful that the private sector involvement will have a positive impact on the sustainability of the projects. We note that the highest share of funding has been implemented through the UNDP, and we would like to see more significant engagement by other agencies, and are positive to the trend of more significant engagement by IFIs. We welcome the attention to policy coherence and encourage further integration and coordination with the Green Climate Fund to enhance complementarity and impact. We highly appreciate how GEF projects and programs continue to advance from being gender sensitive to being truly gender responsive. The ongoing focus on gender integration remains positive, and we encourage further mainstreaming of gender and social inclusion across all projects and programs. So nearing the end here, given the inclusion of several fragile and conflict-affected countries, we appreciate steps towards conflict-sensitive programming and recommend a dedicated section on FCS in future work programs aligned with council feedback and recent evaluations. As usual, we will share written comments with the Secretariat ahead of the January 16th deadline. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jonas, and those comments will be deeply appreciated. I'll now give the floor to Aliou from IPAC, followed by Rashid. Aliou, floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. The IPAC Indigenous People Advisory Group acknowledges the document provided by the
Aliou, sorry to interrupt you, Aliou, but we hear you a bit broken and the interpreters cannot follow. So maybe we can retest your microphone.
Can you hear me now?
We hear you better, but if you could speak maybe at a lower pace, that will help us to, it will help the interpreters. Yes, thank you.
All right, okay. The Indigenous Peoples Advisory Group acknowledges the documents provided by the GEF Secretariat in relation to the Least Developed Countries Forum and the SCCF. Indigenous people and local communities are at the front line of climate actions and are among those directly affected by the impacts of climate change. IPLCs play a very key role in climate actions and are strongly echoed, which was strongly echoed during the COP30 in Brazil. While there is growing recognition of the importance role indigenous people play in addressing climate change, biodiversity, and of course land degradation challenges, IPAC notes with concern that the review documents do not reference specific projects or activities focused on indigenous people. This highlights a clear opportunity to strengthen the integration of indigenous people within the LDCF and the SCCF portfolio. Building on this, IPAC recommends that the Special Climate Change Fund under the GEF 9 and its strategy establishes a dedicated funding window for indigenous people and local communities, drawing lessons from the GEF 7 Inclusive Conservation Initiative and the GEF 8 Health of Conservation Initiative, or through a flexible mechanism similar to the Innovation Challenge. Such a window should prioritize self-determined priorities and locally led actions with objectives of strengthening community resilience to climate impacts and bringing global environmental benefits. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aliu. We followed, but for future interventions, we do suggest that you can use headsets to avoid the echo, but we heard you. Thank you. I will now give the floor to our last participant in the list, Rachid. Vous avez la parole.
Merci Noémie. Bonjour, bonsoir tout le monde. Au nom de la circonscription de l'Afrique du Nord, je tiens tout d'abord à remercier le secrétariat pour la préparation des documents relatifs au programme de travail proposé pour le LDCF et le SCCF. Je souhaite concentrer mon intervention aujourd'hui sur le SCCF, un instrument financier très important pour répondre aux défis climatiques majeurs auxquels font face les pays de notre région. Le SCCF a démontré sa capacité à financer des activités cruciales d'adaptation de manière significative, des projets autant nationaux comme le secteur des ports au Maroc ou à dimension régionale comme le MED programme, un programme qui soutient une approche intégrée et coopérative pour résoudre les défis environnementaux et climatiques critiques en Méditerranée, en catalysant des actions collectives et à grande échelle alignées sur les priorités nationales et régionales. Tout en soutenant le programme de travail proposé, notre circonscription souhaite évoquer les observations suivantes. Premièrement, nécessité d'une recapitalisation des fonds du SCCF pour amplifier son action. En effet, pour que le SCCF continue à jouer son rôle, notamment dans le financement de projets nationaux et régionaux innovants au niveau des pays en développement bénéficiaires, une reconstitution ambitieuse est impérative. C'est pour cela que nous appelons les bailleurs de fonds lors du FEM9 à augmenter leur contribution à ce fonds et au secrétariat à faire un effort supplémentaire de mobilisation des ressources pour ce fonds. Deuxièmement, maintien de la flexibilité et de l'accès direct. En effet, la force du SCCF réside dans sa capacité à répondre à des besoins diversifiés. Nous proposons dans le cadre des politiques du FEM de préserver cette flexibilité opérationnelle et continuer à simplifier les procédures d'accès, notamment pour les agences de mise en œuvre nationales et régionales. Et troisièmement, nous encourageons également le secrétariat à continuer de donner un intérêt aux initiatives régionales qui répondent aux défis communs et renforcent la coopération internationale. En conclusion, la circonscription de l'Afrique du Nord appuie l'adoption du programme de travail de SCCF tel que présenté et je vous remercie.
Merci beaucoup, Rachid. And I believe that concludes the list of speakers for this agenda item. So now I'll hand it back to Chis and Jola for final remarks.
Thank you so much, Noemi and Mr. Co-Chair, and thank you for the overall support and positive feedback on the work program in front of you, which really we're grateful to receive. A couple of specific questions. First and foremost, Lucretia from Switzerland had certain questions about the remaining countries to access on the SCCF window A, which is for SIDS. With this work program, we will get to 14 SIDS fully accessing the SCCF window A, and for the GEF 8 period, we set that up to $3 million. And that's out of the 30 eligible SIDS that are not LDCs. So that basically leaves 16 SIDS that have yet to access the particular window. And we are also following up with a number of these countries that have actually expressed their interest to submit proposals as well as have concepts in mind. So we're very much aware of the situation and following up with them. And those who have yet to express to us how they would like to utilize these resources, we're also following up individually. And we're taking opportunities such as COP30 as well as in other meetings to make sure that the countries are aware that they have this opportunity to access for the SIS, and that the way that GEF functions is use it or lose it. So they have basically for the next 6 months and come and address access the resources they have available. So we're actually fairly confident that between now and until the end of the GEF 8 period, we will see quite a number of these SIDS coming in to access the SCCF window A. And most likely you're not going to see them in the work program because it's under the 5 million threshold, but we'll make sure to report back on the access figures as well as what those projects are in the June work program in the council reports that will be shared in front of you. And I think there was another question from Anders regarding the risk elements, and I apologize, part of your intervention we couldn't hear because our Wi-Fi froze in our room, but I think you were asking about the risk related to Haiti as well as Eritrea, right? So just to confirm, on Eritrea, the high climate related risk is actually due to the substantive climate related risks showing the high level climate vulnerability in the country. So this is sort of part and parcel of why we actually would need to have an intervention addressing climate vulnerability as well as resilience building in this particular country. And also on the question of Haiti, same situation. And also we wanted to highlight that the nature of the proposed activities as well as the very complex operating environment in the country and the negative impacts related to occupational health and safety risks. These are the elements that are contributing to the risk elements. And just wanted to make sure that everyone is on the same page, that we have discussed these issues with the agencies for these two projects to make sure that the specific risk management strategy will be further detailed for each risk category that has been presented prior to the CEO endorsement submission. And we are really keeping a very close eye on this issue, and so is staff. So that's one element that we wanted to highlight to you. And I think there was a question from Lucretia, going back to you, about the resource mobilization effect, as well as what we have found so far. So part of our resource mobilization efforts have literally been really trying to organize more regular pledging events in the COPs, because I think this is also an element that have been requested of us to ensure there is higher visibility as well as political relevance that could be really shown. And then we have been of the opinion, as well as based on advice, that having these pledging sessions at the COPs would be a very good way to go. That said, we have actually made the decision on our own in consultation with those who were interested in contributing or announcing their contributions, not to do it in Belém, and we also did not do it in Azerbaijan. So we're sort of in a situation where we're also looking for some advice as well as feedback from those of you who are longtime contributors to this fund to really help guide us on the way forward also. I mean, this is basically part of the conversation we will have in the the third LDCF and SCCF meeting in Bonn in January, and we have also followed up with a number of interested contributors, including the subnational ones. But I mean, this is also again the situation as to what are some of the changes to the LDCF and SCCF and operational environments that we would need to consider in order for us to potentially broaden the donor base. So that is a conversation that we need to have more seriously based on what we discussed in the January setting. And then eventually those elements, I believe, would also need to come back to the council to consider further. So, I mean, if you want to broaden the donor base, I think there are certain elements that would also need to be considered, such as the how do we go about going for the regional and or subnational entities. So, and also there were questions from Rashid, and thank you so much for raising the need for us to do additional work in the regions and countries that we have not done as much work recently. We do hope with additional resources, we will be in a situation to address on a sub-regional, regional basis, adaptation priorities in the Mediterranean and other places. So with that, I hand it back to you, Naomi.
Thank you, Chis. But there's no one else requesting the floor, so that will conclude the interventions for this agenda item. And now we can hear from our co-chair.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you also, Chis and Olusola, for your very comprehensive responses to the questions from Council. Noting there's no further calls from the floor, I'd like to invite Council to adopt the draft decision that is included in the document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.39/02. I don't see any objections from the floor, and the decision is therefore approved. Thank you very much. And it's one of the things with the virtual session, you don't get the claps with the agenda items. With that, we'll move on to agenda item 3, which is the progress report on the Least Developed Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund. And I'd like to invite Mr. Jason Spenceley and Mr. Ladu Lemmy to present document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.3903, the progress report on the Least Developed Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund. Over to you, Jason and Ladu.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I hope you can hear me okay. My name is Jason Spenceley. I'm Senior Specialist with the GEF Secretariat Climate Change Adaptation Team, and it is my pleasure to present the progress report for the LDCF and SCCF together with my colleague, Mr. Ladu Lemmy. Next slide, please. We will start with the Least Developed Countries Fund, LDCF. Next slide. The LDCF has continued to progress actively in terms of resources received, new proposals, and CEO endorsements and approvals. The financial summary presented in this slide is as of September 30th, 2025. New pledges to the LDCF made during this reporting period were 6.09 million from Belgium and Ireland, and a total of 6.19 million in new contributions were received based on previous and new pledges. Next slide, please. All LDCF projects approved since the inception of this fund are expected to directly reduce the vulnerability of 88.9 million people, improve the management of 15.2 million hectares to withstand the effects of climate change, and train 3.7 million people. Additionally, over 5,000 policies, plans, and processes are expected to be developed or strengthened to identify, prioritize, and integrate climate adaptation strategies and measures. Since the GEF started tracking sex disaggregated data at the beginning of GEF 6, over 48% of LDCF beneficiaries and 49% of people trained are expected to be female. Additionally, since the LDCF started tracking private sector engagement at the beginning of GEF 8, and we appreciate the comments of several council members on the importance of this, 3,795 entities are expected to be engaged in climate change adaptation and resilience action. LDCF projects continue to be focused on a range of sectors. Since inception, the most common focus is on agriculture, followed by nature-based solutions, water, and climate information services. It's now my pleasure to turn over to my colleague Ladu to share progress on the Special Climate Change Fund and dedicated programs. Ladu.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, co-chair. As Jason mentioned, my name is Ladu Lemi, a climate change specialist with the GEF Secretariat Climate Adaptation Fund. Next slide. The SCCF continues to be an important climate adaptation fund within the GEF, embedded with a sub-pen focusing of the SCCF in the GEF 8 climate adaptation strategy. We continue to be motivated by this renewed interest in the GEF Managed Trust Fund. As was the case with the LDCF, the financial information presented or summarized in this presentation is as of September 30th. During this reporting period, 2.28 million in new pledges was made to the SCCF fund from Ireland, and a total of 2.34 million in new contributions were received based on previous or new pledges. Next slide. Expected results since the inception of the SCCF fund. SCCF projects are expected to directly reduce the vulnerability of 12.5 million people, improve the management of 5.3 million hectares of land to withstand the effect of climate change, and train more than 271,000 people. Additionally, 781 policies, plans, and processes are expected to be developed or strengthened to identify, prioritize, or integrate climate adaptation strategies and measures. Since the GEF started tracking sex disaggregated data in the beginning of GEF 6, 48.6% of the SCCF beneficiaries and 42.1% of the trained people are expected to be females. Additionally, since the SCCF started tracking private sector engagement at the beginning of GEF 8, 335 enterprises are expected to be engaged in climate change adaptation and resilient actions. Next slide. Looking at the sectors of SCCF investment, SCCF projects emphasize an integrated approach, focusing on a range of sectors within each of its projects, finance projects. Agriculture, water, climate change, information services, and disaster risk management are the major focus of the fund. It's now my pleasure to pass the mic back to Jason to finish the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ladu. We will now share a brief update on dedicated programs. In the interest of time, we'll focus on the first dedicated program, which is on strengthening communications and visibility of the LDCF and SCCF. And we really appreciate the importance of this area based on guidance from council members. Next slide. During this reporting and SCCF portfolios has continued as a key priority, with a focus on strengthening coordination, visibility, and learning across the GEF partnership. Alongside the continued development of the LDCF SCCF programming strategy for GEF 9, where communication and knowledge management elements have been refined in line with stakeholder feedback, collaboration with implementing and executing agencies and partners has resulted in more than 20 stories published during the reporting period, highlighting GEF-supported adaptation actions across national and partner channels. The program has also supported GEF's engagement at key global moments in the final quarter of 2025, including the Adaptation Futures Conference, UNEA 7, and of course, UNFCCC COP30. Collaboration with other multilateral climate funds has remained central. And recently, around COP30 in Belém, where the funds hosted the third joint MCF pavilion with a dynamic calendar of over 35 well-attended events. Next slide. This concludes our presentation. Thank you, Co-Chair.
Thank you very much for your presentations, Jason and Ladu. At this point, I'd like to open the floor for any questions and comments. I'll hand over to you, Naomi, if you could manage the requests from the floor. Thank you.
Sure, Mr. Co-Chair, the floor is now open. Okay, I had a private message from Tumini, CSO Network. Floor is yours. Tumini, if you can hear us, you have the floor. I see that you're unmuted, Tumini, but somehow we cannot hear you or see you. Again, maybe you can try logging out and logging back in to the Zoom meeting, and once that you do, I will make sure that you're next. Okay, I see that you're trying to open your camera.
You can
okay, yes, yes.
me?
Now we hear you well, Tumani. Thank you, floor is yours. And we see you. Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now you can see me.
We see you, Tumaini, but your audio is a bit broken. So you may want to try closing your video and just using your voice.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, now it's much better. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Tumain, the Vice Chair of the GEF Network. Report. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, the GEF Network welcome least developed countries fund and the special effort to strengthen climate resilience and adaptation capacity in vulnerable countries. We appreciate the emphasis placed on whole of society approaches, gender responsiveness, and community ownership as critical factors for effective climate finance. We also acknowledge progress under the SCCF, particularly its role in fostering innovation and partnership, including with the private sector. We welcome the strong attention given to gender outcomes, including the findings that nearly half of the LDCF beneficiaries are women. This is a positive signal that should be further strengthened and extended to ensure broader inclusion beyond gender, particularly for indigenous peoples and local communities and youth. Based on the practical experience of the civil society, the GEF network proposes the following recommendations to further strengthen the LDCF and SCCF programming. 1, meaningful stakeholder engagement. When we say meaningful stakeholder engagement, we mean while the report references consultation, more explicit attention to the quality and depth of engagement with civil societies, indigenous people, women, and youth would help ensure adaptation interventions reflect local needs and knowledge. 2, transparency and accountability. clear reporting on how stakeholders have influenced the project design and implementation, including accessible budgets and decision-making information, could strengthen trust and participation. Number 3, disaggregated results. Expanding indicators to capture social outcomes, local agents, and resilience of communities, particularly women, youth, and indigenous groups, would provide a more holistic view of impact. And finally, capacity building and empowerment, highlighting opportunities for targeted training, leadership, and knowledge exchange for local stakeholders could support sustained adaptation outcomes at the community level. This refinement would better align LDCF and SCCF with a whole of society approach and help ensure climate finance reaches those most affected by climate impact while unlocking local knowledge, leadership, and capacities for transformative adaptation. The GEF network thanks the Secretariat, agencies, and donors for the progress reported and look forward to continued constructive dialogue and collaboration to ensure LDCF and SCCF resources deliver inclusive, timely, and lasting outcome for community most at risk. Thank you very much. My name is Tumaini, the Vice Chair of the GEF Network.
Thank you very much, Tumani. We heard you loud and clear. I don't see anyone else requesting the floor. Okay, thank you. Nicholas, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Just for a very brief intervention, we also want to thank you, of course, for this progress report. And I think we can really see that the funds continue to deliver. And we appreciate the emphasis on measurable results in this report. One thing we particularly like to highlight that we're glad about the fact that now nearly half of all direct beneficiaries and trained individuals are women. And we hope to fully reach the 50% very soon. And this is something we'd like the Secretary to really be engaged on to keep up this good work and push this further. And other than that, we really appreciated the good efforts of the Secretariat in representing the two funds at COP30. Thank you very much.
Dankeschön, Nicholas. Anyone else requesting the floor? Yes, Catherine from Canada. The floor is yours.
Oui, je vais parler en français. Donc, juste simplement pour remercier Jason et Ladou pour les présentations et pour dire que le Canada accueille aussi favorablement le rapport. Et on trouve que le rapport montre que notre financement à l'adaptation est stratégiquement ciblé. Et donc, pour un peu répéter ce que les autres ont dit, mais on est encouragé de voir les nouveaux engagements pour le LDCF. Et on comprend bien que la stabilité financière est nécessaire pour un engagement collectif mondial solide envers les pays les moins avancés, là où les risques climatiques sont les plus importants. Et on voulait aussi souligner le rôle du SCCF en tant que pionnier de nouvelles solutions et fonds de départ essentiel pour l'innovation. On voulait encore une fois souligner le succès du programme de défi pour l'innovation en matière d'adaptation, qui nous montre ce qui est possible et la capacité du FEM à catalyser les capitaux privés. Donc, on voit que l'utilisation de la fenêtre du fonds B du SCCF, il y a des investissements qui sont intelligents et ciblés que nous devons multiplier. Donc, merci.
Merci beaucoup, Catherine. I don't see anyone else requesting the floor. So I believe that will conclude our list of speakers for this agenda item. Now we will hear back from Jason and Lado for reactions of these very good comments. So Jason, Lado, back to you.
Thank you very much. We are really appreciative of these comments. We will reflect on them very briefly now. The emphasis on the importance of whole of society and gender issues, as well as on innovation and partnership, including, as you stated, with private sector partners and gender-oriented partners. Thank you for that. We also heard very clearly you're for recommendations to strengthen whole of society related to meaningful stakeholder engagement, transparency and accountability, expanding indicators, and on capacity building to strengthen outcomes at a community level, specifically on indicators through the GEF 9 strategy development process with the guidance of several council members. Sub-indicators on Indigenous people and youth are proposed to be strengthened and highlighted further. Germany, thank you for highlighting the importance of reaching the 50% threshold of females engaged in gender projects, both as beneficiaries as well as people trained. The point's well taken, and it's definitely a shared objective. Finally, merci beaucoup, Catherine de Canada, for highlighting the importance of under SCCF window B, the strategic role of this window on innovation and the value of SCCF window B to catalyze private sector engagement, especially through projects that are innovative and have an opportunity for scale up from other sources. We will stop there. Ladu, is there anything you'd like to add? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jason Ladu. I think that ends our list of speakers and the responses. So at this point, I would like to invite Council to adopt the draft decision that is included in the document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.38/03. I don't see any calls from the floor. So on that basis, the decision is hereby approved. Thank you, everyone. Now, we do appear to be going quite well in terms of the schedule. So the intention now is to push on, and we'll now consider agenda item 4. So at this stage, I would like to invite Mr. Johan Pablo Hofmeister to present document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.39/information 04, entitled Update on the Development of the GEF Programming Strategy on Adaptation to Climate Change for the Least Developed Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund, and operational improvements July 2026 to June 2030. Over to you, Yuan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. And if we can get the presentation on the screen. Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. And if we can get the presentation on the screen, let me get started. Council members, good morning, good afternoon. Pleased to present today an update on the development of the GEF programming strategy on adaptation to climate change for the LDCF and SCCF, which will cover the period of 2026 to June 2030. Today, we are updating you on the status of the development of the strategy. And in this update, we are outlining the progress to date, key inputs we have received from countries, donors, and partners, and the roadmap forward on the development of the strategy. Next slide. The timeline in front of you shows where the strategy development process is at. As you can see, we have successfully held our second meeting in October in Kasane, following the GEF Trust Fund replenishment meetings. And looking ahead, our third meeting is scheduled for January 21st in Bonn, back-to-back with the third replenishment meeting of the Trust Fund. We also have added the fourth virtual meeting in April 2026 to ensure we achieve consensus on the final document before bringing it to you for approval at the 40th Council meeting in June. Between now and June, we will continue informal bilateral consultations to refine the strategy based on your feedback. Next slide. The second meeting, as I mentioned, took place in Kasane, in Botswana on October 10th. We had strong participation of 16 donors, regional representatives, the LDC group, CSO and IPAC representatives, the UNFCCC, GEF agencies, and observers from the Adaptation Fund and the Climate Investment Funds. The meeting focused on 4 key areas: the strategic positioning of the LDCF and SCCF in the broader climate finance landscape, or consolidated thematic priorities and approaches, operational improvements, and resource mobilization options. The discussions were constructive and collaborative, with participants engaging deeply on how to strengthen both funds for the next programming period. Next slide. Let me highlight then some of the outcomes from the discussions and key points from Kasane. First, there was strong support for the streamlined thematic priorities and approaches we presented. Participants emphasized the LDCF being positioned as the only multilateral fund dedicated to provide support to climate to LDCs, the importance of strengthening the SCCF specifically for seeds, and encourage us to support private sector engagement and innovation beyond LDCs and seeds. Several important points emerged: the need for a dedicated section on sustainability, recognition of country ownership with attention to capacity needs for both countries and operational focal points, and clear articulation of complementarity among climate funds. There were requests to elaborate on PRIA, including costs and complexities. On resource mobilization, we heard diverse opinions, and participants asked us to present pros and cons of different financing scenarios. Finally, on governance, there was interest in the evolution that was proposed while maintaining council continuity, with the understanding that any changes requirement instrument amendments will need the full council deliberations, and that this will take place then in the context of the group to be looking at governance in the council. Participants also submitted written feedback by October 27th, and then the chair's summary was finalized and posted. With regards to the informal consultations that we have undertaken, prior to Kasane, we conducted extensive informal consultations during late September and early October with contributors, LDCs and seeds, as well as regional representatives. The discussions helped us refine the draft and ensure diverse perspectives to be incorporated in the document. We also briefed the LDC and the seeds groups at COP30 in Belém through the LDC group and EOSIS, including and as a way to keep recipient countries fully informed and engaged in the process of the development of the strategy. With regards to next steps, moving forward, we're continuing the bilateral discussions with participants and organizing consultations with recipient countries to ensure that the strategy reflects everyone's priorities. Our third meeting on January 21st will focus on confirming thematic and operational priorities, discussing financial scenarios, and advancing discussions on resource mobilization. The fourth virtual meeting to be held in April will be dedicated to achieving consensus on the updated programming strategy before we bring the final document to the 40th Council in June for your approval. So with this, I want to thank you again for your continued engagement in this process. We're hoping the strategy we're developing together will guide the LDCF and the SCCF programming for the next 4 years. And with your input in shaping it, it will be a strong responsive framework for climate change adaptation. Happy to take any questions or comments you may have. Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Juan, for your presentation. I'd now like to open the floor for any questions and comments. I'll hand over to you now, Naomi, if you could manage the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Co-Chair. The floor is now open. Maybe Juan Pablo was very clear. No comments. Maybe I missed. No, apparently there is no one requesting the floor. Juan Pablo, your presentation was very well understood and received. Yeah, Catherine in the chat is saying, thank you, Juan Pablo, very clear indeed. So apparently this was the case. So I believe, Mr. Co-Chair, that there are no comments to this agenda item. So back to you. There's just a lot of thanks to Juan Pablo in the chat. Thank you. So back to you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Naomi. We can all take that gratitude without the intervention. So thank you all. I note that there's no decision to be adopted under this item. So thank you all. We'll now move on to, we're doing very well for time. We'll now move on to agenda item 5. And I'd like to invite Mr. Swang Dorj and Ravi Janwadi to present document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.3904, which is the financial year 25 annual monitoring review of the Least Developed Countries Fund and the Special Climate Change Fund. Over to you, Swang.
Thank you very much, Co-Chair. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to Council members and everyone joining Council online. My name is Dorji, Senior Climate Change Specialist with the GEF Secretariat. It's my pleasure, along with my colleague Ravi, to present the annual monitoring review report of the LDCF and SCCF for FY25. Can I please have the presentation mode? Thank you. This review describes the performance and the results of and the lesson learned from the portfolios of projects and programs financed under LDCF and SCCF that are under implementation during the fiscal year 2025. As you have heard during the GEF monitoring report on the first day, this is actually the final AMR that we will be presenting for the GEF 8 period. And we are presenting this as part of this work program, this December cycle of the Council, because we wanted to furnish, first of all, the most updated information as soon as it's available. And also we wanted to align ourselves with the GEF monitoring review, which was, as I just mentioned, presented on the first day of the Council. Next, please. Next slide. Can you hear me okay? Can I have the next slide, please? While we are working through the slides, I wanted to mention some of the key messages coming out of these portfolios of monitoring report. Can I have the next slide, please? Next slide, please.
Dorji, I think that you might have some internet situation because we do see the slides moving, maybe not on your end. So if that's okay with you, we will follow your your speech and just help the slides so people in plenary can be in the same slide that you're discussing, if that's okay with you.
Thank you very much, Naomi. I can hear you very well, so I was thinking maybe this was, So the first one is to say that both LDCF and SCCF active portfolios are making very good progress, especially when we look at both the DO as well as IP ratings. This time we are looking at the DO rating of 83% for LDCF projects. Similarly, the SCCF projects in particular is showcasing a high level of performance. Can you go back? Yes. A high level of performance in achieving the results and demonstrating a much better performance comparing to the GEF Trust Fund as well. And thirdly, the LDCF and SCCF support is playing a critical role in de-risking a private sector engagement for adaptation solutions. These supports are delivered through capacity buildings and business plannings and technology demonstrations and market facilitations is helping to position private capital as a scaling mechanism for the adaptation solutions. And the final key message coming out of this monitoring is that the project continues to advance a GEF whole of society approach and a broader social inclusions through meaningful participations of local actors, including CSOs, youth, women, and IPLC's engagement. And also all projects in this cohort reported a key gender-specific results. Next one, please. Now, on the LDCF, next one, please. Next slide. The Secretariat received 96 PIR of the projects. The total LDCF financing of these projects were close to $628 million, with close to $3 billion of co-financing at the approval stage, which obviously which is not mandatory for LDCF and SCCF as well. This cohort of projects are at different stages of implementation and overall has disbursed about 34% of the LDCF funding. The 4 top sectors that the funding has worked in these portfolios are on the agriculture, nature-based management, water resource management, followed by climate information services. And finally, in terms of the regional distribution, 68% of the LDCF funding is approved for the projects that are under implementation in Africa, followed by 25% in Asia and Pacific, and 2% in Latin America and Caribbean, and then 5% for regional and global projects. Next, please. In terms of the portfolios that we are looking at right now, the project under implementations, we are looking at 5.7% of the projects are from GEF 5, followed by 8.9% of the projects from GEF 6, and GEF 7 has 17% of the projects, and GEF 8 has got 3.3% of the projects. Overall, we are looking at more than 35% of the projects are being completed under LDCF, and we have close to 30% of the projects at the approval stage. Next, please. On the performance, 83% of the LDCF projects that are under implementations were rated as moderately satisfactory or higher in terms of their progress towards development outcome. This in particular is 3 percentage point increased compared to the portfolios of projects under implementation in last fiscal year. For the IP, 73% of the projects reported moderately satisfactory or above, similar to the previous years. Both performance ratings have been found to be lower than average ratings when comparing to the GEF Trust Fund projects that are under implementations. Next, please. In terms of the results, the LDCF projects under implementation has reached more than 11 million direct beneficiaries, with approximately half of them being female. Furthermore, LDCF funded projects have enhanced the resilience of approximately 887,000 hectares of land, contributing to almost 300 policies and plans. These projects have also trained over 172,000 people in various aspects of climate change. Cumulatively, the impacts of LDCF portfolios, as reported by agencies, stands close to 33 million direct beneficiaries and 5 million hectares of areas under climate resilience management. Next, please. Moving on to the Special Climate Change Fund. Can I have the next slide, please? Under the SCCF, we received project implementation reports for 17 projects with the funding close to $45 million and confirmed co-financing of $383 million, which is not required under the current co-financing policy as well. And $22.5 million is disbursed that is half of the total approved funding for SCCF. In terms of the sectors, we have infrastructure, agriculture, followed by water and climate information service as the top 4 sectors being targeted by the SCCF. Regionally, Africa received 38% of the funding, followed by Asian Pacific at 35%, Eastern Europe and Central Asia at 4.3%, and Latin America and Caribbean at 3.3%. Next, please. The portfolios of projects that we are looking at under this implementation comes from GEF 5 to GEF 8, with still actively being implemented from GEF 5 at 9.4%, followed by GEF 6 at 5.4%, and finally at GEF 8 at 0.4%. Next, please. In terms of the SCCF performance, the 100% of SCCF projects under implementation were rated moderately satisfactory or higher in terms of the projects are rated moderately satisfactory or higher in terms of their implementation progress. SCCF portfolio consistently shows higher performance rating compared to the trust fund and LDCF projects. Next, please. In terms of the results, the projects that were under implementation during FY25 reported reaching 3.5 million direct beneficiaries, bringing more than 650,000 hectares of land under climate resilience. Moreover, projects reported 31 policies and plans mainstreaming climate resilience and training close to 30,000 people on climate adaptation. Cumulatively, SCCF portfolio has reached close to 11 million direct beneficiaries and managed 7.5 million hectares of the land under climate resilience. Next, please. With this, I would like to hand over the presentation to my colleague Ravi Janjawandi to complete the rest of the slide. Over to you, Ravi.
Thank you, Dorji. Dear Council members, my name is Ravi Janjwadia, Data Analyst for the LDCF and the SCCF. In this section, I will share the snapshots of terminal evaluations, risk analysis, some lessons learned, and disbursement of the LDCF-SCCF portfolio. On results at completion, during this fiscal year, 12 terminal evaluations from LDCF and 2 from SCCF were submitted, reporting results on the climate adaptation indicators. As shown in the slide, for most of the indicators, at the aggregate level, results reported by the projects have reached or exceeded the expected targets. In case of LDCF, 2 of the core indicators did not achieve their expected targets. This is due to changes in project activities, resulting in the shortfall. The Secretariat has been engaging with agencies to understand the achievement of the climate adaptation impact and issues related to it. Next slide, please. This AMR presents the risk analysis of the LDCF and SCCF projects as per the recently approved GEF risk appetite. Similar to the GEF monitoring report, the framework requires project to report risk profile at 3 milestones: at approval, CEO endorsement, and midterm stage. The risk profile is rated along the 3 dimensions: context, innovation, and execution. For the first 2 milestones here, that is approval and CEO endorsement stage, the analysis presented shows average risk profile for all projects after the framework was adopted. While at the midterm stage, only 6 LDCF and SCCF projects has reported risk as per the new framework. Due to the limited number of projects at the midterm stage, discerning any trends is challenging. However, as more projects report at MTR, Secretariat will study emerging trends and report in the future AMRs. Next slide, please. At the request of the Council in the previous meeting, the fiscal year 2025 AMR has included analysis on the disbursement status for LDCF and SCCF resources. The figure here illustrates the disbursement rates as a percentage of approved financing for both the funds. As shown, the disbursement rates are declining with each successive phases, which aligns with the implementation duration of these portfolios. Early stage projects focus on necessary foundation for successful execution, which typically leads to slower financial outflows compared to later stages when activities delivery intensify and disbursement rates go up. Next slide, please. This slide shows the disbursement rates by agency and GEF phases. For GEF 6 and GEF 7 phase, the disbursement rate among the agency varies significantly. For example, in GEF 6, 6 agencies reporting above average disbursement rates, while 5 are below the average for the particular GEF phase. In case of GEF 8, as expected, all agencies have reported disbursement rate of below 5%. Now on lessons learned from the portfolio under implementation. This report provides project-level evidence on key success factors and challenges behind project performance. As the previous reports, this analysis is from the information reported in the PIRs by individual projects and hence serve as case studies and may not hold as trends across the portfolio. With that, few highlights of the project under implementation. First, effective leadership and active stakeholder participation contribute significantly to the overall success of the project. As reported by a project, strong leadership along with actively involved stakeholders are that offer valuable insight, help identify potential risk early on, and facilitate better implementation. Second, success of the project is also attributable to adaptive management and response to changing political situations in the countries. Maintaining open communication with various project stakeholders through regular meetings, workshops, and consultation, as well as collaborating with institutional partners and community leaders has helped enhance overall performance. Third, limited national capacity and high project staff turnover continues to affect the project implementation. The insufficient availability of skilled personnel within the country has made it challenging to maintain consistent progress on project activities. Additionally, frequent changes in project staff have disrupted the continuity of operations. And finally, project implementation is impacted by new national regulations, including unexpected taxes and account closures for grant funds. Additionally, external factors like fragility and ongoing conflicts continue to hinder project delivery. With that, I conclude the presentation for the fiscal year 2025 annual monitoring review. Thank you for your attention. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Georgina and Ravi, for those presentations. I would like to now open the floor for any questions and comments from Council, and I'll hand over to Naomi if you could manage a request for the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair, of course. The floor is now open for any comments, questions to Georgie and Ravi on this agenda item. Okay, thank you. Nicholas from Germany, followed by Wampi and Anil. Nicholas, floor is yours.
Thank you, Noemi. Germany would like to thank the Secretariat for the annual monitoring review on the LDCF and SCCF. We're very happy with the high rate of satisfactory results and the progress on gender equality, as already mentioned before. The new portfolio-wide risk analysis of the GEF risk appetite is something we appreciate. However, we also noticed that disbursement rates remain low and that co-finance could be better, especially from the private sector. One thing we did notice is that there seems to be a lot of similarities between the progress report we just heard about before and this monitoring review. And so we were wondering if it might be possible to combine and streamline these two agenda items into a joint report in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. I will now hand it over to Wampi, followed by Anil, Lauren, Stephanie, and Sagar. Wampi, floor is yours.
Yes, hello, thank you. And so thanks for the presentation. We also welcome the report and recognize the results that have been achieved. We note the better distribution of the GEF funding among the implementing agencies, which is clearly shown in the progress report, so very good. And we would, however, appreciate a bit more information on the difference between the dates that are set for the portfolio under implementation and the all-over portfolio. So it's not always clear when the portfolio ends and when the portfolio under implementation starts. So it would appreciate to be more elaborative on that in the next time. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wampy. Anil, floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Naomi. Good job, guys, Doji and Ravi. I just have, this is relating some of the data what you have presented. One question I have is that there's a conflict between the implementation progress chart which you have presented for the LDCF and SCCF vis-a-vis with that of the fund utilization, which came in some of the previous slides. And so that is one thing which I have as a question to you. And the second one is that I find that there is a lot of backlog going back to G5 and GEF5 replenishment 6 and 7. I mean, 7, 8, okay, I can still look around, but I think we should start pushing that to be finished. We are sitting on a lot of money up there, because especially when we are going for a total different approach in GEF9. I mean, if you started at that particular point of time, we have to again look back into the relevance, which probably I will request IEO at the next round to start looking in that aspect of it. But I want to know if there is any specific steps you all are taking, the GEF Secretariat is taking for ensuring fast tracking that implementation so that you can close those replenishment chapters as we are moving into the GEF9. That's I stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anil. Lauren, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Noemi, and thank you, Dorji and Ravi, for the presentation. And we thank the Secretariat for the annual monitoring review. And we really appreciate the concrete examples from individual projects that are included in the report. We note that several projects did not submit project implementation reports during FY25, and we strongly encourage the agencies to submit these reports as requested. And could the Secretariat maybe explain what the main reasons are for this lack of compliance with GEF requirements? We note that no results were achieved or reported on in the LDCF for 2 indicators, the one on coastal or marine area managed for climate resilience, and the number of private sector enterprises engaged in climate change adaptation and resilience action. What are the reasons for this? We thank the Secretariat also for the first risk profile, but we very much welcome more of an analysis in the next report, which will come for GEF9 then. And finally, we would like to support Germany's suggestion to combine this agenda item with the one on the progress report, since they're quite similar. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lauren. Stéphanie, à toi la parole.
Je vais m'exprimer en français. D'abord, nous vous remercions pour le secrétariat, pour le rapport proposé. Je vais soutenir pas mal d'éléments déjà dits, le fait de regrouper les 2 points soulevés par l'Allemagne, le point mentionné par Anil sur le fait qu'il y a trop de projets qui datent de GEF 4 ou GEF 5 et qui devraient aujourd'hui arriver à leur fin. On arrive à GEF 9 et le point rappelé par la Norvège sur l'obligation des agences à se conformer au reporting, au rapportage en mauvais français. Ceci étant, nous saluons les avancées qui ont été présentées quand même dans le rapport, notamment la performance stable du portefeuille malgré les crises politiques ou sécuritaires qu'ont traversé plusieurs pays. Cela démontre la résilience du modèle d'intervention du FEM et du LDCF et du SCCF. Donc, il nous paraît important de souligner ce point. Nous félicitons aussi la généralisation des volets genre dans l'ensemble des projets et les résultats tangibles déjà observés, reconnaissant le rôle des femmes comme actrices clés de la résilience climatique. Et néanmoins, ça rejoint la question partiellement des vieux projets et des agences qui n'apportent pas toujours les rapports. On note aussi une présence de nombreux projets avec une note highly unsatisfactory qui mérite beaucoup d'attention. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, Stephanie. And I give the floor to Sagar from the CSO network, followed by Lucrecia and Aliu. Sagar, floor is yours.
Thank you, Noemi. Thank you, Dorchi and Ravi, for the presentation. The CSO network welcomes the AMR. We appreciate the effort to make portfolio results clearer and easier to track. The finding that the portfolio performed satisfactory in fiscal year 25 is encouraging, especially given how difficult many country contexts currently are. We welcome the clearer picture on results, risk, and disbursement. The data on people reached, land under climate resilient management, and gender outcomes helps show where progress is being made. We also value the openness in highlighting both strong projects and those that are struggling. At the same time, the review points to issues that keep coming up. Disbursement is often slow at start. Capacity gap remain at national and local level. Coordination is still hard, especially in fragile and conflict-affected settings. These are not abstract problems. They affect time, trust, timing, and what communities experience on the ground. From a CSO perspective, this calls for more flexibility in how projects are delivered and stronger, steady support for local institutions and coordination. We also see value in using the AMR more as a learning tool during implementation, not only as a reporting exercise after the fact. We also hope that in future, the AMR will include more information and analysis on effectiveness of the engagement of IPLC, CSOs, women, and youth beyond that in the current stakeholder section. Overall, the CSO network takes note of the progress reported and supports continued efforts to turn these lessons into practical changes that improve delivery and impact for communities at most risk. Thank you.
Thank you, Sagar. Lucrecia, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I wasn't planning to take the floor, so I'm going to improvise a little bit, but we definitely would like to thank the Secretariat for the insightful report, including the examples, comment on the results reported in there, of course, but also echo some of the comments from colleagues, which concerns first the wish to see results maybe compared to expected results, making sure that sort of the apple to apples are compared. So if you could expand on that in the next report, that would be appreciated. Similar to others, of course, the low disbursement rate is a concern. We can also support the request or the suggestion to combine the reports. And then finally, I had one question. While, of course, we appreciate very much the presentation of the risk framework, and we were a bit surprised to see that especially technology risk and business risk, I think it's called, are those risks that increase actually as the projects go on, where we would have expected more context risks to possibly increase as the project is being implemented, but not necessarily such projects that we would expect to be taken care of at project development stage. So maybe if you can expand on that now or in a future report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lucrecia. And now we will go to our last speaker of today, Aliu from IPAC. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. IPAC welcomes the report, and we would like to inquire how you are including or accounting for the support given to indigenous people and local communities, given our key role in climate actions. We would like to request and echoing the recommendations of the CSO network, more details on the support of IPLCs for further reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aliu, and we heard you this time so much better, so thank you for that. So now let's hear back from Dorji and Ravi for their final remarks. So Dorji, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Naomi. I will try to tackle some of the questions. I wanted to, through you, thank the council members for very positive feedbacks and the comments on this report. And I'll try to answer some of these questions on what are we looking at in terms of this implementation portfolios. We are looking at the projects that are under implementation from July 2024 to June 2025. So that's how we are looking at 96 projects that has provided the implementation report to us. We understand and we know there are there are a little more projects than 96 that are supposed to be submitting the PIR. And the question on what are we doing on this is that we are systematically engaging with the agencies in trying to understand the key issues and challenges being able to submit. We are doing our part from the Secretariat in reaching out to the agencies in being able to provide us with the implementation report. Going forward in GEF9, we think that the implementation of country engagement strategy will be able to help us better in trying to get the entire portfolio monitoring in compliance with what's supposed to be doing. In terms of the results missing on some of the core indicators, I want to mention here that we're looking at the portfolios of projects coming from GEF5 till GEF8. And some of these projects in the earlier version of the GEF cycle has not had the result area being formed up as we have now in the recent times. So there is a little bit of mismatch on in terms of not having a complete of information in terms of results being reported in current implementation portfolios as what is expected to be. Also, in terms of the comparing the results with what is being kind of agreed on during the CO endorsement stage, we did provide on the MTR and TE terminal evaluation analysis on how the reports are doing in terms of meeting the set target of the results. But obviously, we are also looking at very limited numbers of both MTR and TE at this point of time, and we will continue to engage with our agencies and partners in trying to get the full compliance of also submitting the terminal evaluation and the MTR. I think similar goes to the RICS as well. We are actually reporting for the first time under AMR in the RICS in compliance with the new RICS appetite of the GEF. And while we have seen quite a number of projects that's being approved, with 56 of them at the approval stage, looking at the RICS, but we have very limited projects actually who is being able to, we are looking at only 2 projects that's got MTR that can actually speak to the RICS, and it's difficult for us to make the trend at this point of time, but going forward, we think that that's going to improve. Why DO and IP performance are a little low in LDCF? Obviously, we spoke about that. LDCF, we are kind of operationalizing in a very challenging context, both fragility as well as the execution function of some of the executing entities are not yet being able to perform to what we expect to, although there is a continuous improvement on the capacity of execution agencies. Some of primarily because of this and other risk factor that's kind of affecting the performance rating. In terms of CSO's comment on using AMR as a learning tool, that's exactly what we are doing, and we would be taking up we are committing ourselves also in the GEF9 to have the IPLCs in our portfolios as well. On the question, the larger question of merging AMR and progress report, I'm going to defer this to my manager, Cheese, for our intervention on this one. But before that, I would like to check with Ravi if he has anything to say on this. Ravi, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dorji. Thank you, council members, for your active comments on, especially on the disbursement section. This is the first time we are presenting this analysis, and we take note of your comments to update this analysis for the next meeting, next AMR. Currently, as we can see, I think the question on the disbursement gaps for the earlier phases. So we are actively looking into those projects which are financially close to reaching its completion, and working with agencies to get the projects under closure. The disbursement rate may not reach the 100% because of cost recoveries and savings for those projects. However, we will be getting the data to the last digit and reporting it to Council in the next AMR. And in terms of implementation progress vis-a-vis the disbursements, yes, the trend holds more or less, where the earlier phases of GEF projects for LDCF, SCCF has high disbursement, while the very recent one having low disbursement as they just started their implementation. Will be definitely engaging with agencies to see the implementation progress and the disbursement rates for those two. Over to you, Chiz. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And thanks for Germany, Nicholas, and perhaps a couple of others raising the issue of the option to try to merge the progress report with the AMR. It's up to you, Council, to tell us how you would like that to be done. And also we'd be ready to merge the two. Just to clarify, the two reports do cover different elements. The AMR is looking at the portfolio that's active within a given fiscal year. The progress report covers the cumulative elements. It also covers the financial information for the two funds, the operations, and also in previous council meetings, you have asked us to also add in the progress report overview of contributions, the cost structure, how efficiently the LDCF and SCCF are run, as well as information on the visibility. So if you would like to merge the two reports, we can certainly do that. And I think it just becomes an exercise of perhaps picking one and making sure all the information you have actually requested in the council setting for the secretary to report to you can be reflected in one report. So do let us know how you would like us to proceed, and whatever the request you have, I do think it's just a matter of putting that into the highlights on the way forward, and we will follow through accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chiz, Dorji, and Rabbit. There's no one else requesting the floor. So that will conclude our participations. Thank you. We were just discussing about One Piece hand, but I believe that it has been up since before she spoke. So One Piece, that's okay with you. I believe that you already made your intervention. Let us know otherwise. But with that, I will now hand it over to the co-chair. Now that I see no further, thank you, One Piece. That answers our question. So over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Naomi, and thank you, presenters, and thank you also, Council, for your questions. Recognising there's no further requests to the floor, I would like to invite Council to adopt the draft decision that is included in the document GEF/LDCF.SCCF.3805. I see no calls for the floor. And the decision is hereby adopted. Thank you. Now, we are making good time, but instead of carrying on, given we have called you, been overtime for the last 2 days, we might break early today and give you 45 minutes back in your day to do other things, and we'll press on tomorrow for the commencement of the meeting with the agenda item number 6 for this meeting. So with that, I will call the meeting to a close, and I'll hand over to Naomi if there's any housekeeping announcements to be made. Over to you, Naomi.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. As you very well mentioned, with everyone's support, we're giving council some 15 minutes back of their time. So for tomorrow, we will all use only one link. So the one that we are all currently using, so no more jumping from one into another. With that said, council members are invited to join an informal gathering with the GBFF observers starting at 6 a.m. DC time. So that's before the formal council starts. Information on this gathering has been shared via email by the GBFF team last week. And this session will also be led by that team in the GEF Secretariat. Therefore, the formal council will start at 7 a.m., which is the same time as in the timetable, to go through the last agenda item on the LDCF, SCCF, which is any other business, followed by the GBFF council. So I will just conclude by inviting council to join in time at 7 a.m. So once we have quorum, we can start promptly. So with that said, I hope that you all enjoy your evenings and nights. Thank you and see you tomorrow.
Good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.